Hey everyone, this is Ditto from Humble Fish and Reef to Reef. I've been getting many questions about GHL and Neptune products and how either or both controllers do something. I felt it is a good time to show the programming differences between Neptune Systems, Apex Controller, and GHL Systems, ProfiLux Controller. This video is the beginning of a series and it's not meant to be one controller is better than another controller, but rather a resource for those looking to see the differences in programming between the two top aquarium controllers in the market. In this video, we are going to compare how to set up a heater on both controllers utilizing an outlet controlled by the temperature probe of the controller. The configurations will be done utilizing an iPhone device, with the configuration to be done through the Apex Fusion app for the Neptune controller and the GHL Connect app for the GHL controller. Let's get started. First, we need to sign into both devices. In this video, on the left-hand side will be the Apex Fusion app, and on the right-hand side, the GHL Connect app. It should be noted, both the Neptune controller and GHL controller contain built-in web interfaces, allowing you to program the devices on your local area network via a web browser. On the left, I am entering my credentials for Apex Fusion, utilizing my stored credentials inside my iPhone device. I'll be skipping the facial recognition setup, and therefore are presented with a screen which displays the list of controllers that are tied to this user account for me to monitor and program. On the right is the GHL Connect app. Credentials are not required as they were stored within the app when I did the initial setup. First, I'm going to choose the ProfiLux controller I wish to connect to. Upon doing so, I am presented with the dashboard of the ProfiLux controller. Choosing the Apex controller on the left within Fusion, we are presented with the controller's dashboard. Neptune Systems and GHL Systems approaches are different on how to program a heater to be used on an outlet for use by the controller. On a Neptune controller, you enable alarms and scale on the temperature sensor, and the programming of the heater to turn on and off is done on the outlet port which the heater is plugged into. On a GHL controller, you enable, log, and program on the temperature sensor, and then apply the temperature sensor to the outlet which your heater is plugged into. How do you set the temperature to turn on and off the heater and apply it to an outlet for the Neptune controller? On the Neptune controller, scroll down to the outlet you want the heater to be plugged into and slide the protective window over to the outlet to the left and click the gear icon. First, we want to name the outlet. Select a name and enter in a label for the outlet. Select the control type and choose heater. By default, it should already be selected. If you set up a new Apex controller, an outlet will be already pre-configured on the EB832 to be used by the heater. Scroll down to the configuration section. The probe name is used to determine which probe is going to affect the outlet, by default the temperature probe. Scroll down and now choose your on and off temperatures for the heater. By default, if you use the pre-configured outlet port that comes with the new Apex controller, it's set to 78 degrees and 79 degrees. For this tank, I'm setting the minimum degrees at 77 and the maximum degrees to 77.5 degrees. When done, scroll to the top and choose Save the configuration to the controller and then click OK. How do you set the temperature to turn on and off the heater and apply it to an outlet for the GHL controller? On the GHL controller, select the temperature sensor you wish the heater to be controlled by. This will direct you to the temperature sensor page. We need to first set a nominal value. Scroll down to the probe sensor controls. The nominal value is the temperature we wish to keep the tank at. I'm setting the nominal value to 77.5 degrees. Now I need to configure when I want the heater to come on and off. This is where the hysteresis comes into play. The number you enter here will determine how much of a temperature swing you are willing to allow. By default, the value is set to 0.36 degrees Fahrenheit or 20.2 degrees Celsius. I'm going to leave the default value, which means the heater will turn on at 77.3 and off at 77.5 when applied to an outlet. Click the Save button to save the values. Click the Back button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Click the hamburger icon in the upper right-hand corner of the screen and choose Switch Channel. Click on the switch channel your heater is plugged into. Select a description and enter a label for the outlet. Select the function and choose the temperature sensor you want to use that will impact this outlet. A new option appears when you select the temperature sensor. Choose Heater. Now click Save on the bottom to save the values. The above steps for both Apex and GHL are the minimum number of steps to set up a heater to be used by both controllers. But what fun is that? Let's go into some of the other things we can do while we're setting up the heater. Maybe I don't like the temperature sensor name and want to change it. How do you change the temperature sensor name? On the Neptune controller, click the gear icon next to the temperature sensor. Scroll down to the configuration section and enter a name for the sensor. There's a limitation of 6 characters that can only be utilized. Scroll to the top and save the values. On the GHL controller, click on the temperature sensor on the dashboard. Click on the description to enter the name of the sensor. Click the Save button on the bottom to save the value. How do you change the display readings from Fahrenheit to Celsius? On a Neptune controller, click on the gear icon next to the temperature sensor. Now that you're in the temperature probe configuration, you need to scroll down to the configuration section of the probe. Choose the Advanced tab and scroll back down and look at the scale. By clicking on the scale, you have a choice to choose Fahrenheit and Celsius. On the GHL controller, click on the temperature sensor on the dashboard. Select Display and choose the scale that you wish to use. How do you log the temperature sensor results? This is an important feature because if you wish to see the information on charts, you need to make sure that the temperature sensors are recording to the controller and or cloud services. For an Apex controller, once a probe is enabled, it will begin logging its results to the controller and the cloud services. But you can change the interval. To change the interval, click on the gear icon, then click on the wrench icon, where you have a data log menu option. Changing the data log menu option will change the recording interval of the sensor to the controller and the cloud. On the GHL controller, click on the temperature sensor on the dashboard. Scroll down to the measurement data section and toggle on the Save Values feature. Upon doing this, you can now enter in a sample period for the measurement interval. By default, it's 10 minutes, but you can change it if you wish it to record every 5 minutes or every 15 minutes. You can enter in the value that you see fit. I'm going to leave it at 10 minutes, and I'm going to choose the Save button. What this does is saves the settings to the controller. How do you see the charts of your temperature? On a Neptune controller, you can see charts a couple different ways. The first is on the dashboard page itself. You can see today's chart right next to the temperature sensor on the controller dashboard page. You can put your finger on it and it's going to show you set points of today's temperature. The other way that you can see temperature or charts of your temperature is by clicking on the temperature sensor itself, with which you are shown the last 7 days of temperature swings of your tank. You have the ability to look at just one day or 1 hour through the zoom function, or using the slider on the top, you can go back in 7-day intervals up to 3 months. On a GHL controller, click on the temperature sensor on the dashboard. In the upper right-hand corner, select the history icon. By default, you will see today's and yesterday's temperatures of your tank charted. You have the ability to put your finger on the chart and move your finger along the chart, and it will show you the set points that have been recorded of your tank temperature. You also have the ability through the filtered items to sort from any from date to any to date for up to 3 years worth of information. Please note, when using the filter command, the longer period of time and the farther you go back will take time for that information to be downloaded and displayed onto the chart window. But for an example, if I wish to go back to 6/1/2021 and want to look to 6/30, I can enter those two dates, press done, and say apply. And then what the system is going to do is bring back a chart between those two dates of my tank temperature. At the same time, what I can do now that I've taken an entire period of time is I can do by week, by day, and move between the days or for the entire month. The last option is I have the ability to use the list command, which is the icon in the middle of the screen next to the chart icon in the upper middle. Clicking on the list command lists out my temperature results, and I have the ability to export that information via a CSV. This completes the first part of a two-part series on programming differences and features of setting up a heater on a Neptune Systems Apex controller and a GHL Systems ProfiLux controller. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions, please leave them below, or you can PM me on Humblefish or Reef to Reef. This is Ditto, signing off.